So our research and trade development services focuses on providing insights as well as market analysis for existing companies as well as companies that are looking to invest in Ghana. For trade development, we focus on connecting markets. So if you're a Ghanaian company looking for a potential partner outside the country, we do assist in securing those partnerships. If you're a foreign company looking for a local company to partner, we do provide due diligence services, among others, and connect you to those companies. We don't only focus on foreign companies that are looking to invest in Ghana, we also focus on Ghanaian companies that are looking to expand and better understand the market. We have a host of industry experts that help you understand that.
We work for a number of brands in Ghana as well as global. We work for brands like ABSA, formerly Barclays Bank. We work for International SOS. We work for Honda. We work for Jetro, a whole host of other firms and clients in Ghana and across the globe. So we are happy to extend our services to you as well and to serve you. Our name is Famous, which simply means reliable in Latin, and we are simply inspired to deliver value.
Registering your business in Nigeria can be a hassle. Even though the CAC platform allows you to register your business online, however, not anybody at all can do that. First, you need a CAC accredited agent. You have to go through a whole lot of documents online to get all that done. You are worried about your business name, which type of business you should be registering. All this can be very messy, and that is where we come in with our value. Famous Advisory, operating from Lagos, Nigeria, helps you with all your CAC matters, from choosing a business name to choosing the type of business that you should be registering, to formulating your business object, company secretarial, and all these matters. Our expert team in Lagos will help you to get all that sorted. We provide full-fledged CAC registration support for your business registration with very fast delivery and also competitive pricing. Reach out to our legal team in Lagos and we'll be happy to add value to your business and help you to grow.
Hi guys, do you need an emergency visa to Ghana? You find yourself stranded somewhere in the city, or there is no Ghana embassy or consulate in your city of residence, then visa on arrival is definitely the thing that you need to be able to travel to Ghana. So here at Famous, we facilitate visa on arrival in 2 to 3 working days. The official visa on arrival fee is $150 irrespective of nationality and also whether you're an adult or a child. To be able to get this done for you, we need the following documents. Number one, we need your passport scanned copy. We also need your flight booking and your hotel booking as well, especially if you are sleeping in a hotel. If you are lodging with a friend, just share your address and that's good to go. And additionally, we also need to know the purpose of your travel to Ghana. With all this, you just send it to us, and in 2 to 3 working days, your visa on arrival approval will be ready. We will send this to you, and all you need to do is to print a copy, and you can use this copy to do all your immigration and departure formalities. And upon arrival in Kotoka Accra Airport, your visa will be issued without you having to make any additional payment. We have done so many visas for so many people, and we are happy to serve you as well. We also give you 100% money back guarantee, such that even if you pay and you don't get the visa, we will refund 100% of your money to you, because we know we are so good at what we do. So we look forward to working with you. Just reach out to us, drop us an email, and we will reach out to you and get it done for you. Thank you.
Are you traveling to Nigeria? Maybe you have applied online on the online visa platform. It is stuck in there. You are not hearing feedback from them, and yet you have an urgent pending travel just around the corner. Don't worry. Famous Advisory provides visa on arrival services. In 48 hours, we will get you sorted. All you need to do is to send us your passport scanned copy, your flight booking, and your passport size photo. We provide 100% money back guarantee for your visa on arrival service. If we don't get it for you, we will pay you back. We handle all the documents that needs to go with the application, the introductory documents, and all you need give you the peace of mind, and we ensure fast and safe delivery of your visa permit. We've served many nationalities, including Americans and people all over the world. Reach out to us on the contact below, and we'll be happy to get you sorted.
Hello, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to today's webinar. Good morning. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, welcome to today's webinar. I'm so excited that you joined us for this webinar this morning. My name is Joy Nebarago, and I'm a legal compliance executive at Famous Advisory Nigeria. And today we'll be discussing from tailor to brand owner, fashion brand owner. And before we start, I would like to meet us. Please use the chat box to let us know where you're joining us from, whether you're joining us from the UK, from US, from Nigeria. Please tell us your name, and also whether you're a fashion entrepreneur or you're a fashion tutor, or maybe you just even have an idea to start a fashion business, you've not got into the space yet. Please tell us in the chat box. Would like to meet you, and welcome again. So I'll be sharing my screen shortly. Okay. Please let me know whether you can see the screen. All right, so we'll get right into the webinar. So this morning, we will be discussing from tailor to brand owner, and we'll be showing you how you can move from being a tailor to a brand owner. We'll also be letting you know the difference between, just being a tailor to owning your fashion brand, and the steps that you can take to give that fashion brand a structure, and also to build trust in your customers and credibility as a fashion designer in the Nigerian fashion industry. So again, welcome, sit back and enjoy the webinar. All right. So in the webinar, we will look at the difference, as I've said, the difference between a tailor and a brand owner. Then we'll be showing you how to build a structure for your fashion brand, what kind of structure you can start with and what kind of structure you can scale with. Then we'll also be letting you know why structure matters, and we'll be giving you some tips to naming your fashion brand. Then we'll let you know how and when you can convert, assuming that you already have a business name, when you can convert your business name to a company. Then also we'll be showing you the tools or tips that you can use to protect your fashion brand, because as you will agree, there is a lot of copying and counterfeiting in the Nigerian fashion industry, in the fashion industry generally. Then we'll look at some case studies, what they have done to distinguish themselves over the years, and we'll take some key points home, then we'll ask our questions and take our conclusion. All right. So generally, fashion is viewed as a craft, creativity, and an expression of culture, but not as a structured enterprise or asset. So a lot of tailors just start out, learning the skill and maybe owning a space and just, keep sewing and delivering value, or delivering the clothes or your skill to your clients, and you just keep making clothes to clothes, from one clothes to another, but you're not necessarily building a brand. But there's a difference between just having a skill and expressing your creativity to actually owning your brand. And in the webinar, we'll be showing you the difference, and we'll be showing you what you can do to bridge that gap. Then there is no specific legislation or law for the fashion industry in Nigeria currently. So there is no one law that addresses, fashion, the fashion industry. There are legislations for almost every aspect of life, but then for fashion industry or business, almost every aspect of business. But for the fashion industry, there is very little that fashion designers can glean from or use to protect their creativity from copying and from counterfeiting. So a study by PwC indicates that 68% of consumers in Nigeria prefer to buy from formalized brands due to perceived quality, reliability, and customer service. So while you can have clients that will patronize you based on the skill that you have a few clients who may be loyal to you based on your skill, delivering consistent quality. There are clients that you may meet for the first time, and you'll be shocked to hear that they will ask you for whether you're registered, particularly if, assuming you're a Nigerian fashion entrepreneur, you're based here, and say you have an order from outside Nigeria, maybe the US or any other country that is outside Nigeria. Usually because of a lot of people or fashion designers or even just generally business owners owning businesses and failing to deliver, sometimes these customers or consumers can ask you for your registered certificate. Yeah. Okay, so that's the essence of formalizing your brand, taking steps to formalize your brand. Then it's also important to note that well-structured and formalized brands stand a better chance of obtaining loans from banks or securing investors' funds. All right, so having said that, we will now look at the difference between a tailor and a brand owner. And the first category we're looking at is the fact that for a tailor, the legal structure is oftentimes unregistered. So they operate for a long time or years or even while they are starting out without any structure in place, not even as much as a reserved business name, which is very bad. But for a brand owner, there is this intentionality. Sometimes they may not have even started, but they have a name already, or they've probably gone to a fashion school, and before they are done or while they are at it, they've already secured a name and taken as little as just reserving the name, because the law allows you to do that. Yes, you can reserve a name for at most 60 days. Once it's 60 days, you have to renew, or if someone else takes that name, then you can no longer use it. But a good place to start would be to reserve the name. But for brand owners, they go more than even just reserving the name to actually registering that business. So registering that business and building a structure around it, having contract templates for your models and just putting certain things in place, to even as much as trademarking their brand names. Then for a tailor, the core focus is just, like I've said, delivering and sewing clothes or making garments. But for the brand owner, there is a defined fashion identity. You have a registered name, you are tax compliant, and you're strategically building your business for success and sustainability at the end of the day. Then the value proposition of a tailor is labor, sewing skills, and custom service. While for the brand owner, your value proposition is you are creating a brand identity. You're letting people know that this is my brand. You have a label that you have trademarked, and you're letting people know this is the quality that I'm giving out to the public. And you're creating collections. And you're not just creating collections, you are taking steps to trademark those collections, or the name of the collection. You're taking steps to protect the designs through designs or industrial designs. So we'll look at that when we come to that. Then for the intellectual property for a tailor, there is hardly any registered brand. Like I've said, you don't have any intellectual property basically, because intellectual property has to do with trademarks, copyrights, patents, and designs. And that means that you're vulnerable to copying. And let me also state that even if you have a trademark sometimes, or you have a patent or a design that you have registered with the Ministry of Trade and Investment in Nigeria, yes, you're still vulnerable to copying, but then there are legal remedies because you have taken the necessary steps to, build a protection around that design or that creativity. And then for the brand owner, they take active steps to actually trademark their logos, their labels, and then also to secure their designs through patents and industrial designs. Then the revenue model for a tailor is tied to their personal labor. You gain income basically from just sewing clothes and delivering the clothes to the clients, and they pay you. Or sometimes you own a fashion school and you also get revenue from that. But as a brand owner, assuming for instance that you have a trademark, or you have a design that you have registered with the patents or the industrial designs or the Ministry of Trade, you can easily, nobody can copy that work without your permission. And whatever income they make from it, there is something called royalties. So that's what you earn for giving people the license to use your design. So you also have a way of earning from, your registered trademark or your registered designs. And your revenue model is wider compared to a tailor. Okay, so moving on, we'll be showing you, now we'll be talking about building a structure for your fashion business. And when we talk about structure, we're not just saying, okay, maybe get a land or get a space for your fashion business or rent a shop. No, we're talking about a solid legal structure that you can give your fashion business to withstand, to build a sustainable fashion brand. Now, the first thing you want to do is not just even to register your business. The first thing you want to do is actually conduct market and competitor research. So the Nigerian fashion industry is saturated. There are a lot of fashion designers and more to come. So you want to conduct market and competitor research to know how is the industry like. You want to sit back and ask, what can I do to stand out? How can I position myself for success and sustainability? Then the second thing you want to do is to register your business. Matter of fact, the law provides that when you start a business in Nigeria, within 28 days of running that business or starting that business, you should actually register the business. So you can reserve a name within 60 days. If you're not ready, you don't have the funds yet, you can actually reserve the name, but then you must take steps to register it, because if you don't, there are penalties. Then the third thing you can do to build a structure for your fashion brand is to ensure that you are tax compliant. I'm sure we've all been reading the news and watching the news, and we all know that the tax landscape in Nigeria the game has changed. And if you're not one, or if you're not a fashion business owner that, you're not aware of these things, I think now it will be the best time for you to be aware. It will be the best time for you to pay attention. So we've had experiences in the past where we've been to fashion schools, and we were speaking to one of the students who said she had registered a business name about 2 or 3 years before that day. But then she needed to secure an investment or investors fund, someone who wanted to invest in her fashion business. And I think she was asked for a tax compliance certificate as part of the documents and that they need. But then on getting to FIRS, now the Nigerian Revenue Service, she was told that she had liabilities, not because she did not have a tax identification number, because usually tax identification number comes with your CSC certificate, but then that doesn't mean that you're registered with the NRS. You need to take active steps to actually register with them and then file your taxes. Even if you do not meet the thresholds, there's still a responsibility on you to file your taxes. Then the second thing, which is even closely related to this whole tax matter, is opening a business account. Of course, you don't want to miss other funds that you get, maybe your gifts or your loans for whatever reason other than your business. You do not want to mix up all that monies in your personal accounts. You want to have a separate business account for your business name or for your company, whichever the case. Then you want to take active steps to trademark your brand name and logo, because, and let me just shock you, even if you have a registered business name with the Corporate Affairs Commission and there is already a registered trademark in the same name, because sometimes the CSC search doesn't usually take account of names that are similar to an already registered trademark, you will lose that name. You'll probably have to register another name with the Corporate Affairs Commission and then trademark it. So that's why it's good to, when you have registered your business name, and it's also important before you register your name with the Corporate Affairs Commission to actually do a trademark search. So you can pay for that. It's a very little amount. You can actually pay for it to be sure that you're not using a name that is trademarked to register your business. Okay, so choosing your business structure, what kind of structure can you start with, and what kind of structure can you scale up with? So there are three business structures that you can consider. The first is the sole proprietorships, which commonly referred to as business names that are registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission. And sole proprietorships, as it sounds, is basically owned by one person. So you can have a business name which is suitable for starting up. When you're just starting, you can actually start with a business name, registering your business name. The profit and liability is borne by yourself alone. And you do not have, it's also important to know that you don't have a separate personality from the owner. You don't have, the business doesn't have a separate personality from the owner. That's you as owner of the business. Then it's also less expensive to set up. There are fewer compliance requirements for having a business name as compared to a company or any other kind of structure. Then your income, your personal income is what is taxed. There is no, because it's not a company, the company's funds are not taxed. Your profit from the company is not taxed. It is your personal income, because it's going to, you only have an individual tax identification number, and that's what you use to file for your business name. Then you can also register a partnership. So before I continue, please, if you have any questions during the course of the webinar, you can please leave your questions in the Q&A. Use the Q&A box to leave your questions, and we will do well to answer them during the Q&A session. Okay, so another structure that you can consider while starting is having a partnership. So if you don't want to pull all the funds by yourself, because I know that having a fashion business is capital intensive, or can be capital intensive, even though you can start small, but because of the competition, I mean, you really want to go as fast as you can, but as strategic as you can as well. So you can also have a partnership. You can pull funds together with one or two persons, and you can register a partnership as opposed to a sole proprietorship. It's also suitable for a growing fashion brand, and it must be owned by 2 or more persons. Then again, it does not have a separate legal personality from the owners. And by separate legal personality, I simply mean that the law doesn't view you as separate from your business. So your personal income is also taxed. The personal income of all the partners is also taxed. Then it is relatively expensive to set up. And then the personal income of the partners is taxed, like I've said. Then the last one that you can consider, and you can also start with a company, depending on your level of growth at the time of starting. Then for a company, you can register a private limited liability company, which is suitable for scaling. Assuming that you already have a business name, you can eventually convert it to a company when you're scaling as your revenue grows. Then it must be, or you can solely own a company, or you can jointly own it. So you can have two shareholders, or you can be the shareholder, the sole shareholder of the company. But if you have investors who want to invest and what they need is equity or shares in your company, then they will have to be jointly owned. Then a company, which is a major difference between a company and a business name or partnership, is that a company has a separate legal personality from the owners, but it is more expensive or relatively expensive to set up. And there's complex compliance. For instance, if you need to file your annual returns, every business name, partnership, and company, or every registered business in Nigeria ought to file their annual returns. But for companies, they require what is called a financial statement to file the annual return. So that is just an example of a complex compliance that a company has compared to a business name. But the good thing about having a company is that you have a wider tax shield. I'm sure you probably heard, or you've seen a lot of persons saying, oh, they want to convert a business name to a company because they want to avoid tax liabilities. Well, that is true, but then it depends on where you are, revenue speaking or revenue-wise. It depends on the level of growth of your revenue at the time, because your taxes will be the company's income is what will be taxed and not your personal income. But you will also pay personal income if you meet the threshold for personal income as well. But then if all the bulk of your funds is going to your company's account, then you know that you can manage your personal income in such a way that you don't have to file so much individual income tax. All right, so moving on. So how can you convert a business name, or when and why do you need to convert a business name to a company? As I've probably hinted, you can obviously convert your business name to a company, and you can do that when your revenue and your assets increase. You can do that when your liability increase. Of course, when your revenue is going, it means that your tax liability is increasing. So you can convert to a company to shield from liabilities. But then if you also meet or you surpass that threshold for companies, then you'll also be liable, albeit it will be just small amount as you're starting. Then when you're scaling or when you're seeking funds from investors, sometimes these investors require a company as opposed to a business name. Then you need to upgrade. Why do you need to upgrade? So if you have a business name and you're considering a company, a good reason to move from a business name to a company is because another difference between a business name and a company is that if the owner of that business dies, it means that that's the end of that business. So nobody can continue that business for you using that same name. But for a company, the company lives on. Even if all the directors and all the shareholders pass on, the company lives on. So that's the advantage of having a company as opposed to a business name. Then again, tax shield, and then you can also protect your assets because you can buy assets or industrial machines or whatever assets that you need for your business. You can buy it in the name of your company. But for a business name, you cannot do that. And even if you have issues or litigations or court matters issues or court issues at the end of the day, your company will be sued and not you. You won't find your name on any court process. But then, being a director, you're also an agent of the company. All right, so why does structure matter? Structure. Why do I even have to consider it? Why do I have to bother myself about registering my name or reserving my name? The first is that you have a legal responsibility to register your business within 28 days of starting that business. And then still under legal protection, by registering your business, the law protects you. I mean, you can claim that this is my business name, and you can prevent others from using the same name as you. Then the second reason is that it gives you credibility in the eyes of your customers or your target market. So your customers and investors will trust you more knowing that, okay, there is a registered business, and if anything happens, we know who to hold responsible. Then you also have access to funding, as we've said again and again. Then you can also scale. Your company can sustainability. Your company can live on even if all the directors and shareholders in your company pass on, and you can easily grow and build structure around your business to, build a sustainable business. All right, so how do you name your fashion brand, or what tips can I use to name my fashion brand? First off, your brand name shapes your market perception. Especially for fashion designers, your branding shapes your market perception. So it's what your customers meet first. Your customers will hear of your name, or sometimes that's what they meet first, or other times they will see your work, but most times that's what they meet first. So what tips, or what can I do to when naming my fashion brand? So you want to be original, you want to be creative, and you want to avoid generic names. Then you also want to use fashion related words. It's not a must, but it still works. So you can use fashion, you can use atelier, you can use couture, you can use styling. So an example would be, let's say your first name is Kate and your surname is Miller, and you can say the KMF brand or the Kate Miller fashion. That's nice. All right, so you can use fashion related words. Then you also want to search the CAC and trademark portal for availability before you go ahead to name your fashion brand. Then you want to avoid niche names. Niche names in terms of assuming you sew not just female clothes. Let's say you do bridals and you also sew men's suits. Then you don't want to name your fashion brands maybe Kate Miller Bridals, because obviously you're not just serving brides or females, you're also serving the males as well. So you don't want to niche or have a niche name unless it is necessary. Then you also don't want to use the prohibited names. The law prohibits certain names. For instance, if you're registering a business name, you don't want to have limited in your name because it's not going to be allowed. It's not a company. So it's only allowed for companies. And then there are also restricted names. Then you also want to keep it simple and memorable. Okay, so how do you protect your brand? You can protect your brand by having contracts in place, trademarks, and we'll be looking at all of them and discussing each of them one after the other. Then you can have, you can also have copyrights, you can have patents, and you can also register your designs. Okay, so you can protect your fashion brand through contracts. And what kind of contracts are we talking about? The first is employment contract. Usually when you're starting, you probably just run your business alone, but as you start to hire staff to assist, or I know fashion designers often hire apprentices to, even while they are learning, you still need sort of an agreement to outline your terms of engagement, and so that you can reduce your risk in case of disputes in the future. Then you can also have a confidentiality and non-disclosure agreement. This is basically to protect your creativity from competitors. Imagine that you have students and you have a design that you have curated or that you have produced, and then you're probably using it as an example in class. You can actually have your students to sign a non-disclosure agreement so that they don't put your designs or your creativity in the public without your permission. Then you also need a partnership. You also need a partnership agreement, assuming that you set up a partnership instead of a company or a sole proprietorship. You need a partnership agreement to define your rights and responsibilities and how profits will be shared in the business. Then you need supply agreements if you're the kind that I know that some fashion designers have some even go as far as going overseas to shop for their materials, shop for their the materials you use to produce your clothes. So you can have a supply agreement with your suppliers. You can also have a licensing agreement. So if you have IP that is registered, your trademark, copyrights, patents, and designs, you can have a licensing agreement. If anyone wants to use any of those designs, you will need to give them a licensing agreement to sign so that you can earn your royalties from your creativity. You can also have a hiring contract. I know that most designers have a ready-to-wear collections, so you can have a hiring contract with ready for anyone who wants to. For instance, if you have a bridal wedding gowns or suits, and you hire from time to time, you don't just want to do handshake deals, or you don't just want your conversations to end on chat. Sometimes it can be deleted, it can be wiped out. So you need a hiring or rental agreement for when you need to rent out your ready to wear. Then you can also have an agreement for your models. You can also have agreement for your models. I know fashion brands also often have models that they use to publicize their work. So you can have an agreement for your models as well. All right, so another thing that you can do to protect your brand is to have a trademark. So what is trademark is, it's basically a recognizable sign, design, or a symbol or a distinct mark that distinguishes one good from another, or service from one enterprise to another. The benefits of having trademark is it protects your creativity, obviously, and it also gives you the right to claim ownership of your brand name, your logo, or whatever it is you're using to brand or publicize your brand. Another benefit is it differentiates your products from those of other fashion designers. Then it also builds credibility, and investors will trust a fashion brand that has taken steps to not just register their brand, but also gone ahead to trademark their name. It also gives you credibility in the eyes of your investors. And then again, it's a tradable asset. So you can sell your trademark and you can earn money from it. The body in Nigeria that regulates trademark is the Ministry of Trade and Investment, and the appropriate class. So there are 45 classes, but for fashion brands, the appropriate class will be classes 24 and 25, which deals with clothing, footwears, and headgears. So that's the most suitable class of trademark for fashion brands. I'm sure there are a few others, but these are like the most suitable. Duration of trademark protection. So it's your trademark protection gives you can claim ownership for as long as 7 years, and you have an option to renew from time to time for another 14 years. Then the cost involved is just 80,000 to 100,000. So depending on your trademark agents that you use, and that's just the government fee alone, but depending on the trademark agents you use, the price range is between 80 to 100,000. Then copyrights, it's a legal protection that's given to original creative works. E.g., you can you can copyright your artworks or your sketches. I know fashion brands usually have, I mean, as a fashion designer, you probably most likely start with a sketch. Sometimes your customers can even give you an idea and then you sketch it out. Luckily, or I know that there are digital illustrations that you can use to do your sketches. You can also, that is eligible for copyright. So your sketches are eligible for copyright. Your fabric print, if you're a fashion brand that, you produce fabrics, your fabric print is also eligible for copyright. And if you have a website, your content on the website is also eligible for copyright. The Nigerian Copyright Commission is the regulatory body that regulates copyright in Nigeria. And then your copyright is, compared to the trademark, you have a duration for your lifetime, actually, and even up to 70 years after the author's death. So copyright is also a good step to protecting your brand because of the length of time that you will own and claim rights to your copyright. What are the benefits of registering your copyright? So in Nigeria, you don't necessarily have to register copyright. It's automatic. The right is conferred to you automatically. But then it's good to take the step to actually register it. The reason is because it is easier to enforce your registered copyright as opposed to, oh, I have a copyright or I have a sketch and I don't want to release it out there to the public, right? it's easier for you to enforce your copyright when you have registered it. Then it also serves as a notice to every other person that this right belongs to you, and they need to, seek your permission before they can use it, maybe for illustrations or to improve on the work, or to use as a case study for their own students. Then you can also enforce your copyright in other countries that have signed or adopted the Benin Convention. So the Benin Convention is the international law that Nigeria is a part of, and the other countries that are, that have adopted the Benin Convention, you can enforce without having to register in those countries. So for trademarks, you will need to register your trademark or your name in another country. But for copyrights, you do not necessarily have to register in those other countries, and you can also enforce your copyright in those countries that have adopted the Benin Convention. Then another thing or another step that you can take to protect your fashion brand is having patents. So a patent is a legal protection given to an inventor for a new invention. It must not only be new, but it must involve an inventive step. So it must be novel. It must not have been done before. It must not be in the market before. And also, you would need to prove that you went through an inventive step. So you do not need to have gotten Q from maybe a similar invention. So the law requires that you need to have taken an inventive step to come up with that patent. Then it also should be capable of industrial application. By capable of industrial application, it means that the work should serve as a model or a pattern, or can be reproduced industrially. The body that is responsible or that regulates patents in Nigeria is the Ministry of Trade and Investment, and the duration of patent protection in Nigeria is 20 years from the date that you're applying for it. But then there are annual fees that applies, and you need to renew. The cost involved is between 50 to 100,000, again, depending on the agent that you use. Okay, so finally, another step that you can take to protecting your fashion brand is designs, industrial design. It's a legal protection that's given to an inventor. It's similar to a patent, but then the difference between a patent and a design is patents has to do with functionality of a thing, how it works. But for designs, it's the aesthetics, how it looks. Then for fashion brand owners, you can register your ornamental designs or your silhouettes if they are unique, if they have not been done before. So like I said, it has to be new, and it also has to be capable of industrial application. So it has to be a model or a pattern that can be replicated industrially. The body that's also responsible is the Ministry of Trade and Investment, and the duration for patents and designs for designs is 5 years from the application date, and then subsequently you can renew for another 5 years for 2 consecutive times. Then the cost involved is between 50,000 to 80,000, again, depending on your agent. All right, so finally, we're getting close to the end, and we'll just look at a few case studies. So the first case study we'll be looking at is House of Diola. Diola Sagre's brand is known for its luxury designs, and she has a strong presence both locally and internationally. So she even gets, she produces wares because of how unique her designs is, she produces wares for some movie industries, both internationally and locally. And in 2003, she registered the Diola Sagre Limited, a fashion company that is well known for her unique fashion products with ashoke lace. I'm sure if you could do a Google search, you'll probably see her works. She has also rebranded and has registered a business name known as the House of Diola. In 2019, she trademarked the Diola Tropical Galactica she had a collection, I think it's a bridal collection, and she trademarked that name, Diola Tropical Galactica Showroom. It's a collection that sets a brand apart, and it also protects it from counterfeiting or copying. Then another case study will be, I'm sure most of us know Prudential Gabriel, Prudence Gabriel, of Prudential Styling. The brand has gained recognition for its ability to create stylish, elegant, and culturally resonant pieces, and she has, distinguished herself in the Nigerian fashion market. Prudential Styling, which is her brand name, was registered in 2020 with the CAC, and then she also has a registered business name, Ready to Wear collection with the CAC as well. Then My Atafo, if you know, is one of the famous men's suits fashion designer. And in 2009, he registered his My Atafo Inspiration Limited, which is a company that is known for bespoke men's suits and luxury bridal wear. He has also registered a business name known as Atafo Atelier, which was registered in 2019. And recently, he also trademarked his brand name Atafo. So no other fashion designer can use the brand name Atafo. Then another case study is Itwen Basi. She also has a strong presence both locally and internationally, and she creates stylish combinations of Ankara print fashion. If you do a Google search again, you will also get to see more of her work. In 2013, she registered her company, the Itwen Basi Limited. Then the final case study will be Vicky James. Many of us know Vicky James. She is known for her distinctive designs that often feature intricate beading, bold geometric patterns, and sophisticated draping. In 2019, she registered her brand name as a business name, and also she went ahead to rebrand as a company in 2023. Talk about an intentional fashion brand owner. In 2023, she also trademarked a logo, VJ, as a unique identifier for her brand. So no other fashion designer, even if your name is Victoria Jones, you cannot use the VJ as your trademark for your fashion brand because it is in similar industry. Then there was a case that happened, I think, in last year, May 2025. Vicky James had raised an alarm that a particular Senegalese fashion designer had, publicized a work she did for, I think, a South African radio presenter and TV personality, Bonang Mathiba. And eventually, the Senegalese fashion designer admitted that, it was Vicky James's inspiration, or it was Vicky James's the exact same design. But then the work was already out there as though it was his. There was no way to, there was no legal action that followed. He only just issued, I don't think he even issued a public apology for that. So that's just an example and a reason why after expending so much energy in creating a design, because I know that it takes a lot. It actually takes a lot of time, thinking, and many times a design that has never been done before, and only for you to produce them out there to the public and then find that someone else is copying or counterfeiting. And it's very common actually in the Nigerian fashion industry. It is actually very common. Even most of us have been guilty of that. That's probably where the term "what I ordered versus what I got" came. And so you really want to protect your creativity. You want to take the necessary steps to see to it that your creativity, your time, the effort that you expend does not just go to waste. And these are some of the tools that you can use to protect your creativity: trademark, having contracts, non-disclosure agreements, and copyrights, designs, and all that we've talked about. So key points for us to remember. So remember that building a brand requires structure. Even if when you're starting, as I've said earlier, you only have a business name. Some fashion brands owners go as far as opening a social media page, branding, getting packages, printing on their, decorating and designing their place of business. They don't even have a name. Whereas someone else probably has the same name that they're branding with. So remember that branding requires structure. Remember also that registering your trademark and your brand name is necessary before you market. Then also remember that you can start small, you can have a business team, and then you can convert to a company as you're growing, as your revenue and income grows. Then also remember that when you're scaling or when you're building this protection or building a structure, you're not just protecting your brand, you're actually carving out a means to generating more income and revenue for your business. And then you want to protect your creativity as you're scaling. Then also credibility is strengthened through formal structure and regulatory compliance. You want to take your taxes seriously so that you avoid liabilities in the future and you lose money. All right, so we come to the end. If there are questions, please put them on the chat box or the Q&A session and box, and we'll do well to answer all of them. So I'll just check for a few. Okay. I don't know if there are questions. Okay, so I have one question that says, how long does it take to trademark your brand name? So it typically takes the final certificate. Before you get the final certificate, it takes 1 to 2 years or a year and then 6 months. But for it's in stages. So after your your search comes out as available, the name comes out as available, it takes up to 2 or 3 weeks for you to get an acceptance that, okay, you can go ahead to publicize or publish in the journal, and if there are no objections, then it will. If there are no objections, then you can also go ahead to apply for your certificate. But the certificate itself takes 1 to 2 years to come out. All right, so someone is saying she don't quite get the difference between trademark and copyright. Okay, so the difference between trademark is one trademark is basically a mark or for instance, if you have a logo, let's say you have a design, your name. For instance, the case study that I showed us, Vicky James, the VJ, she has trademarked VJ. That's a mark, it's an identifier. It's a unique identifier for her brand. So no other fashion designer can use that mark to, publicize or market their brand. So that's trademark. It's a mark or a unique identifier for your fashion brand. Then copyright basically protects literary works in terms of writing or artistic works in terms of maybe designs, drawings, your sketches. So because there is no particular or specific fashion law in Nigeria, that's the reason why the awareness of these things is low, or the understanding is low. Because if there was, there'd probably be a defined provision that deals with just fashion, and it'll let you know what you can copyright in the fashion industry. But then because sketches are arts, they are artworks, your sketches that you make or that you produce before you eventually bring a design to life, you can copyright that sketch. So you can register the sketches as under the copyright protection. So I don't know if that distinction is clear. Trademark is just whatever you're using to brand, whatever you're using to trade, as the name implies, trade and then mark, whatever mark you're using to distinguish your brand from those of other fashion designers, that's for trademark. But for copyright, because copyright deals with literary, artistic, broadcasting, film, cinematography, but the ideal category of work that a fashion design will fall under will be your sketches, your artistic works, which sketches also comes under. So is trademark same as logo? Someone is asking. So trademark is a mark and a logo can be trademarked. So your logo can be the mark that you use to distinguish your business from those of other fashion designers. All right, so please keep your questions, keep them coming, and I'll do well to answer all of them. Then someone is also asking, what steps can I take if I find that my work has been copied, even after I've registered my designs? So even after you've registered your designs, you can bring an action for unauthorized reproduction under the Patents and Designs Act in court. Yes, you can do that. Okay, I'm seeing some persons are typing, but apparently we don't have any questions. So we'll just wait a while. Okay, so someone is saying, if you don't have the resources to put in some of the structures, should I just wait and do nothing about starting up my brand? No, you don't have to wait and do nothing about your brand. As I mentioned, so you can go ahead to reserve your name with the Corporate Affairs Commission. You can have a business name, and after you've done your search at the Trademark Registry and you've done your search with CAC and you're sure that nobody is using that name, you can actually take steps to reserve the name. So you can reserve a name for as much as 60 days, and so you can actually reserve your name, and it doesn't really cost so much to actually register a business name. But even if you don't have the funds to, register a business name, you can reserve the name. Okay, so please, can you buttress a bit on patent? So as I said, patent has to do with the functionality of a thing. So because the fashion industry does not just deal with clothes, someone who makes a machine that manufactures buttons or unique buttons, that's also part of fashion, but then it doesn't necessarily have to do with clothes or fabrics or materials. So, and it's an invention that has not been done before, and it can be applied industrially. You can register that machine under patents. So patents deals with how a thing functions, how it works, basically, how it works or how it functions. And it's different from design because design deals with how a thing looks, the aesthetics of a thing, of a design, the fabrics you see around, the designs on the fabrics. And uh, you can also register a design that can be replicated on fashion, on clothes rather, can be replicated. You can actually register it as a design. But for patents, it just deals with the functionality, how it works, maybe machines or something that, a fashion designer, something that allows you work easily, whatever that might look. It could be maybe a machine that produces maybe your buttons or your drapes or whatever machine that helps you, and it has not been produced before in the country. It is new, it is novel, it requires it took you an inventive step. It did not take you from other patents. It can be brought under patents. Okay, more questions. So I don't know if that distinction is clear. If it isn't, you can just put in the chat box. Okay, so someone is asking, does a software technology invention for fashion fall under patent? It could if it meets the criteria. So if it is a technology that has not been invented before, if it is a technology that has not been invented before, it is new and it took you an inventive step to actually produce that software, yes, you can, and it can also be replicated. It can serve as a model industrially, or it's obviously it adds value to the fashion industry, so it can fall under patents if it has not been done before. Okay, I think there are no more questions. There are no further questions. All right, so I'm sure it's been a productive session, and I'm sure we've all taken one or two things that we can go back to our fashion brands and we can begin to implement. If there are any further questions, you can reach out to us. Just share my screen again. So if you have any further questions, please send us a mail or reach out to us on our WhatsApp number. And you can also visit us at our address in Lekki Phase 1. And we'll do well to give you the attention and answer your questions.
At the very beginning, one thing stood out. Information wasn't always easy to find. Reliable data was limited, scattered, and often difficult to trust. Thermo started as a research company, helping businesses to understand their markets, studying trends, providing clarity through data. Because before decisions are made, they must be understood. Compliance became our foundation, helping businesses operate with a structure, with governance, with confidence, not just to exist, but to operate the right way.
So we expanded into a robust tax and accounting department equipped with integrated solutions to drive growth at every stage of the process.
And so we strengthened our advisory depth with strategic legal services, providing governance frameworks, managing risks, and enhancing long-term value, not just to solve problems, but to prevent them, because strong businesses are built on strong legal foundations.
We saw local and talented founders with bold ideas, but overwhelmed by process. So we built Easy Start to simplify business registration, to remove barriers, and create opportunities.
And that is why we created Frameworks Connect, a career development and recruitment platform which connects talent to real opportunities, where interns find the right roles, where employers discover brilliant minds, where training, coaching, and placement meet purpose, because a thriving future begins with connection.
As our clients expanded beyond Ghana, we expanded with them, establishing our presence in Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire, strengthening regional reach, delivering advisory across borders, and extending the Framework standard to a wider market, because vision does not stop at a boundary.
We've expanded within Ghana with the establishment of our Kumasi branch, deepening our national footprints, bringing our advisory services closer to businesses and strengthening our presence where good is happening.
From insight, we became an organization. From one office, we became many offices. From local impact to regional influence, we didn't just grow, we evolved over time. And with this, we are just getting started.